Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lane Kiffin, this Ole Miss program, continue to roll on the recruiting trail, landing another commitment in the 2025 class, coming from four-star safety Keon Young, a kid that we've talked extensively about over the last couple of weeks and months. And if you were to boil down Keon Young into just one word, you'd probably say playmaker. And this is a ball-hawking safety, and you turn on the film and just say, this kid's at the right place at the right time on a consistent basis, had over 6 interceptions during his junior year. And that's a conversation that we've had a lot talking about this Ole Miss program. And that is, how does this Ole Miss team continue to close the gap at the top of the SEC? And we said making those difference-making plays is something that Ole Miss is going to be looking to do over the next couple of years. And Keon Young is a guy that is going to be able to get that done. Really excited to get into the film, talk about what Ole Miss is doing in this 2025 class. Before we do it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a massive shout out to the Ole Miss fans. This is a program we're talking a lot about, not only in the transfer portal, but this is a program that's getting it done at the high school ranks as well. The amount of support you guys have been throwing in the comments section, that stuff, it absolutely means the world. You guys know I love talking this program on the recruiting trail. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. And without further ado, let's get into Keon Young. 12 pass breakups, over 6 interceptions as a junior in high school. That's kind of what it comes down to. And you look at Ole Miss and what they're doing on the recruiting trail, not only bringing in marquee talent at the offensive skill positions, you know there's going to be a line out the door for guys to play for this Lane Kiffin offense, but you start taking a look at the talent that they're acquiring on the defensive side of the football. You go back the last couple of years, guys like Suntarian Perkins, Cam Franklin, Ole Miss is getting it done with difference makers on the defensive side of the football as well. Keon Young certainly going to be one of those. You get into the film and just say it, the true definition of a ball hawking safety, right? He is very comfortable playing that single high safety role, keeping his eyes on the quarterback. And when that football is in the air, it just seems like Keon Young is so, instinctual in terms of attacking the football, taking balls the other way, firing up the film here, playing that center field safety spot. Really good instincts in terms of what's going on in front and behind of him, keeping his eyes on the quarterback. That ball's out. Keon Young just consistently in the right spot. You see the athleticism on the return as well. No verified track and field times, but when you see Keon Young take these interceptions the other way, you're saying he's got to be pretty damn fast. Again, if you're a quarterback, you are not throwing 50-50 balls to the middle of the field because, again, Keon Young's a guy that is just lurking. He carries and covers so much ground, absolutely cruising on this return. Again, you keep watching the film, and the more you see, he just takes away that middle of the field at an exceptional level. Tip pass, really, really good ball skills. You're going to see a couple of these reps where these are not necessarily gimme interceptions. You see a lot of defensive backs not necessarily make plays on the football. Keon Young is one of those guys that when that football is in the air, he's a guy that is going to come up, high point that football, take it the other way. So many different ways that Keon Young can impact this Ole Miss defense. And you look at what Pete Golden wants to do, probably wants to send a lot of pressure, leave his safeties in those single high looks. I think Keon Young is one of those perfect guys that can cover a lot of ground, take the football away when it's in the air. Big, big fan of Keon Young. You continue to roll through the film and you continue to just see reps of him covering. I mean, you go back and watch that rep here, covering a lot of ground to make that play. Really, really impressive. Again, interception, taking it the other way. This film is just full of game-changing plays for a guy like Keon Young. Again, once again, playing that center field safety spot, going up, high point in the football. You got to love what Keon Young brings to this Ole Miss program. And you continue to work through the film and say, he's a guy that also can come up and deliver and be physical as a safety as well. Coming up, laying the wood on this wide receiver, jarring the ball loose. You absolutely love to see a safety come up and be physical at the point of attack. And when you take a look at what Ole Miss is doing in this 2025 class, it's a top 30 class as we sit, 9 commitments in the fold. You got 2 guys on the offensive side of the football that are going to be difference makers for this Ole Miss program over the next couple of years. Jerome Miles, bona fide 5-star. Like Ackland Deer a guy that's the number one running back in the class, and certainly after his senior year could be a 5-star, according to 24/7 Sports. You continue to scroll down and say, hey, we're taking care of business on the offensive side of the football. That's the expectation with Lane Kiffin as your head coach, but some really good pickups on the defensive side of the football as well. Talib Graham, a guy that we've talked about, could be an off-ball linebacker or an edge rusher. Corey Amos at linebacker. You look at Jacoby Hobson, a guy that I think could be a phenomenal off-ball linebacker for Ole Miss as well. You add in a guy like Keon Young. I think the biggest misconception that's going around this Ole Miss program is that they are super reliant on the transfer portal. And you make no mistake about it, Lane Kiffin is going to continue to use the transfer portal at the highest level of college football. But he's also supplementing that with some really good high school recruiting classes as well. You take a look at some of the difference makers for Ole Miss. A lot of those guys are going to be homegrown talent for Ole Miss as well. Really fired up about the roster that Lane Kiffin is building. And a lot of people like to say that this Ole Miss team just has a window right now to go win a national championship. The way Lane Kiffin is using the high school recruiting trail and the transfer portal, this is going to be a team that can compete for SEC titles, national championships, in my opinion, on a consistent basis. Fired up for this program. Massive commitment for Ole Miss. Appreciate the Ole Miss fans for rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.